Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the story of a man whose name is synonymous with magic, dreams, and childhood wonder, Walt Disney. We all know the iconic castle, the cheerful mouse, and the sprawling theme parks that have touched billions of lives. But the journey to creating this global empire was anything but a fairy tale. It's a story of devastating failure, relentless perseverance, and an imagination that refused to be silenced. So grab your popcorn, get comfortable, and let's uncover the incredible true story of how one man's dream changed the world forever. Before the massive animation empire, before Mickey Mouse was even a doodle on a page, there was a young, ambitious artist named Walt Disney, working out of a small studio in Kansas City, Missouri. In the early 1920s, he founded his very first animation studio, called Laugh-O-Gram Studio. He and his team of animators, including his good friend Ub Iwerks, created a series of short, animated fairy tales. They were innovative for their time, full of charm and wit. Things seemed to be looking up. They even secured a deal with a distributor in New York. But this is where the story takes its first dramatic turn. The distributor, despite loving the cartoons, went bankrupt and never paid Laugh-O-Gram for their work. Suddenly, Walt's dream was a financial nightmare. He and his team had poured their hearts, souls, and every last penny into these films, and now they had nothing to show for it. The debts piled up. Walt was so broke, he reportedly ate dog food to survive. He tried desperately to find new projects, but it was too little, too late. In 1923, Laugh-O-Gram Studio declared bankruptcy. It was a complete and total failure. At just 22 years old, Walt Disney had lost everything. He was forced to sell his camera and pack his bags, leaving Kansas City behind with nothing but a suitcase and a burning, yet seemingly impossible, dream. With his first studio in ruins, a lesser person might have given up on animation altogether. But not Walt. He took a train to Hollywood with just $40 in his pocket, determined to start over. He moved in with his uncle and convinced his brother, Roy Disney, to join him in a new venture. Together, in their uncle's garage, they founded the Disney Brothers Studio, which would later become the Walt Disney Company we know today. Their first big break came with a series called the Alice Comedies, which cleverly combined a live-action girl with an animated world. They were successful, but Walt was still searching for a true star, a character that could define his studio. The character he created was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald was a huge hit. Audiences loved his mischievous personality, and the shorts were incredibly popular. Walt thought he had finally made it. He went to New York to negotiate a new contract with his distributor, Charles Mintz, expecting a raise. But instead, he was met with a shocking betrayal. Mintz revealed that he had secretly hired away most of Walt's animators, and, due to a loophole in the contract, he now owned the rights to Oswald the Rabbit. He gave Walt an ultimatum: take a massive pay cut and keep working on Oswald for him, or leave empty-handed. Walt was stunned. He had created Oswald, poured his creativity into him, only to have him stolen away. Refusing to be bullied, he walked away, leaving his creation behind. On the long, depressing train ride back to California, Walt was devastated. He had lost his star character, his staff, and his main source of income. It felt like Laugh-O-Gram all over again. But on that very same train ride, an idea began to form. He needed a new character, one that he would own completely, no questions asked. He sketched out a simple, cheerful little mouse. He originally wanted to name him Mortimer Mouse, but his wife, Lillian, suggested a friendlier name, Mickey. And just like that, from the ashes of betrayal and failure, Mickey Mouse was born. The first two Mickey Mouse cartoons, Plain Crazy and The Galloping Gaucho, were made silently and failed to find a distributor. By this point, Walt was again on the verge of financial collapse. But he saw the new technology of sound coming to movies and decided to bet everything he had on it. For the third Mickey short, Steamboat Willie, he decided to create a fully synchronized sound cartoon, a revolutionary idea at the time. He poured every last cent into its production, even selling his car to fund the sound recording. The risk was immense. If this failed, the Disney studio would be finished for good, but the risk paid off spectacularly. Steamboat Willie was an overnight sensation. The world had never seen anything like it. The charming character, the synchronized music and sound effects. It was pure magic. Mickey Mouse became an international superstar, and Walt Disney was finally on the map. The success of Mickey Mouse saved the studio and ushered in a golden age of animation. Walt followed up with the Silly Symphonies series, which he used as a testing ground for new techniques, including Technicolor. This relentless innovation led to his most audacious gamble yet, creating the first-ever feature-length animated film. Everyone in Hollywood, including his own brother Roy and his wife Lillian, thought he was crazy. They called it Disney's folly. They warned him that no one would sit through a 90-minute cartoon and that the bright colors would hurt people's eyes. The production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs went wildly over budget, forcing Walt to mortgage his house and borrow heavily just to finish it. The pressure was immense. The fate of the entire company rested on this one film. When Snow White premiered in 1937, the audience was captivated. People laughed, they cried, they cheered. It received a standing ovation. The film was a colossal success, becoming the highest-grossing film of its time and silencing all the doubters. It proved that animation could be a powerful storytelling medium for all ages. The profits from Snow White allowed Walt to build a brand-new, state-of-the-art studio in Burbank, California, and fund a string of animated classics that we still cherish today: Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. It seemed like nothing could stop the Disney magic now. However, the 1940s brought new challenges. The outbreak of World War II in Europe cut off the lucrative foreign market, and films like Pinocchio and Fantasia, despite being artistic triumphs, initially lost money. A bitter animators' strike in 1941 deeply hurt Walt, who had always viewed his staff as a family. The studio was forced to pivot, producing training and propaganda films for the US government to stay afloat. The fairy tale momentum had stalled, and the company was once again in a precarious financial position. It was a difficult, uncertain time that tested Walt's leadership and creativity in new ways. But as always, Walt wasn't one to stand still. During these years, a new, even grander idea began to take shape in his mind. He would often take his daughters to amusement parks on the weekends, and he found them to be dirty, uninspired, and unappealing for adults. He would sit on a bench, watching his girls on the carousel, and dream of a new kind of park. A place where parents and children could have fun together. A clean, safe, and magical park where the stories from his films came to life. He called this idea Disneyland. Once again, everyone thought he was crazy. His brother Roy, the financial mind of the company, told him it was a terrible idea that would bankrupt them. The board of directors refused to fund it. Banks laughed him out of their offices. No one had ever built anything like it, and the financial risk was astronomical. Undeterred, Walt took matters into his own hands. He formed a separate company, WED Enterprises, to design the park. He sold his life insurance policy and borrowed against his personal assets. He even made a deal with the new television network, ABC, to produce a weekly show in exchange for funding and promotion for his park. It was another all-or-nothing bet. Construction was a frantic race against the clock, filled with budget overruns and unforeseen problems. Opening day in 1955 was famously chaotic, with counterfeit tickets leading to massive crowds, a gas leak closing several attractions, and the fresh asphalt on Main Street melting in the summer heat, trapping women's high heels. The press dubbed it Black Sunday. It looked like Walt's biggest folly yet. But Walt and his team worked tirelessly to fix the problems. And soon, the public's perception changed. Word spread about the incredible experience, the immersive fantasy, and the attention to detail. Disneyland wasn't just an amusement park, it was a whole new form of entertainment. It became a monumental success, a cultural phenomenon, and a destination for families from all over the globe, forever changing the concept of theme parks. From the ashes of a bankrupt studio to the creation of Mickey Mouse, from the gamble of Snow White to the impossible dream of Disneyland, Walt Disney's life was a masterclass in resilience. He faced financial ruin, betrayal, and constant doubt, but he never lost sight of his vision. He believed in the power of imagination and had the courage to chase his dreams, no matter how impossible they seemed. His story isn't just about building an entertainment empire. It's a powerful reminder that our greatest successes often emerge directly from our most painful failures. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the lives of incredible people. See you next time.